Well, everybody, welcome to Docg Presents, of course, on Hamilton Radio. Hamilton Radio is going into its 25th year in June. I want to welcome a great guest here. I want to welcome Robert Barry. He's a Grammy-nominated recording artist, songwriter, producer, and performing musician. And he's played with bands such as Keith Emerson, Carl Palmer, The Alliance with Boston, Sammy Hagar, Night Ranger, December People, and my legendary friends from Ambrosia, David Pack and Burleigh Drummond. Welcome, Robert Barry.
Hey, it's good to be here. You know, I've never met David Pack, and I knew how good he was, but once I joined the band, you know, they had a separate guitar player. I was just singing and playing acoustic guitar, but David Pack did all of it.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Absolutely.
He wrote the songs, he sang them, he played. I really gained a bigger appreciation for that guy as being one tremendous musician, and he's still doing things. You know, he never stopped.
Well, I found out about a lot of you guys. You actually, one of my friends, Godfrey Townsend, who's played with 60s bands, and John Entwistle, The Who, and all these other different bands and backing bands. You guys never stop. You really don't.
You know, some of us can't help ourselves. You know, I was raised in a musical family. My mom and dad had a big band. So, I mean, I was actually on stage before I was born. So my mom was a singer in my dad's band. So up until about 8 months, I was up there. Before
your career, yeah, but your career has been amazing. So before we go into that, let's how did you get into music? What drove you? What was the inspiration to get into music?
You know, I was sentenced to music. You know, my mom sang in my dad's band. When I was at elementary school, my dad got Vox equipment at his music store, which is what the Beatles used. The real clincher, I guess, was, you know, bands, the 60s bands and the early 70s bands. There were a few in the San Jose area where I'm at, Silicon Valley, that had hit records. And they want to see the amps that the Beatles used. So I had this little guy looking at these guys bringing these beautiful girlfriends in, musicians dressed kind of cool, you know, wanting to, if they wanted to buy a Vox amp, they could. They had the money. It was like, oh, this looks like a good way to go. I couldn't help it, really. There was music around the house all the time. My dad played some piano, like I said, had the music store. Really, I always wanted to be my dad. I wanted to have a band. I have a recording studio, which I'm talking to you at now. You see the console behind me.
Very cool.
Music store, basically. Have a band. But it was my mom who kind of made me who I am today, because when I was interested in something like piano, you know, having a piano around the house and my dad playing and stuff, of course I wanted to tinker with it. So she got me piano lessons when I didn't want to play classical. She made sure the teacher taught me boogie woogie. When I didn't want to do that, she moved me on to some jazz piano lessons. She never pushed me in anything, but my interest, she was right there behind me, facilitating my growth, let's say, you know, without me knowing. And then when, you know, in high school, I was singing a lot when I was not a good singer. Got me singing lessons with the president of the music department at San Jose State University here, where I eventually went to college. And he had sort of mentored me through things, singing. I sang opera and Italian arias, all kinds of stuff. It wasn't my favorite thing to do, but he made it palatable for me to really get this experience. And I like to call it my toolbox, pack my toolbox full of ideas, techniques, whatever it was, you know, I took it all in like a sponge.
And I hear that in a lot of your music, but let's talk about some of these bands. I mean, this is so credible. I mean, listen to Keith Emerson, Carl Palmer. Carl Palmer was with, you know, ELP, and of course he was with, you know, Carl Palmer Experience, and he was also with Asia. People forget that he was with Asia, with John Wetton and Jeff Downs, and I mean, come on, Steve Howe, great way to. And one of my friends was with Asia too. John Payne, he took over for John Wetton when John Wetton left.
Yeah, you know, John's a great musician in his own right. You know, yeah, you know, I've been around these guys. They accepted me like one of them. I don't know, as a new guy on the block, how did that happen? That Keith Emerson and Steve Howe said, yeah, let's write these songs and come on, join the band. Well, how does that happen?
So cool.
The only American in that group, you know, right. even John Payne is English, you know.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
You
so
know,
cool.
I don't know how it happened. There was a time in the mid 80s when progressive rock like Asia started going toward having AOR songs with progressive elements around it. And Geffen Records was grooming me as an AOR guy. They were thinking I could be Sting meets Bryan Adams, right? Bryan Adams, straight rock, creative like Sting. They thought it'd be something really special and different. Of course, they had Asia. They had everybody at one time, you know. And during that period when they were sort of developing me and I was writing a lot of songs, Herbie Herbert, Journey's manager, was my manager. Carl Palmer heard my cassette tape in John Kalodner's office, who was the guru of Geffen Records, signed everybody, knew everybody. Carl said, I like that. He called me up right here in the studio where we're talking. He called me up. I thought it was a joke. Some friend of mine was faking an English accent. Because why would Carl Palmer, you know, one of my heroes, ELP, yes, Genesis.
Still my hero today. Still one of my heroes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, Carl's playing better than ever. He's still hitting as hard, maybe harder. Like, he's so loud. If you see him in a small place, they play 150 to 250 seaters, and the drums are deadly loud. He's smacking those things at 72 years old, which isn't that old. But for a drummer, if you don't have it, if you're not healthy, forget it, right? He's still doing it. Great guy. Did more for my life to get me kickstarted before he turned me over to Emerson, kind of, you know. But I was really lucky that I had that AOR thing, but I came from a progressive rock background. So I understood the creative part and the classical part from all those, you know, 8 years of classical piano lessons. That's a lot of lessons.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to ask you now, you have a classical rock background, but Ambrosia, even though when they started out, were more classic rock and then they went more soft rock.
Yeah, they were progressive rock, really.
Progressive rock, right?
Right Beyond
with
LA.
The first album.
Somewhere Never Traveled. They were Alan Parsons' band on the Raven and all that, right?
There you go. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Yep.
My local band, Hush, who did fairly well for quite a few years here, but just couldn't crack it any bigger, used to open for Ambrosia when they came through town. And I'd just sit there and go, my God, this is the kind of music that I love. Because they were kind of like Asia before Asia was around, you know?
Very true. Yeah.
They went Blue-Eyed Soul. A friend of mine said, David Pack's leaving. You need to, these guys are a friend of mine. You need to be in that band. You'd be perfect for that band. Thinking of the more AOR rock and progressive stuff, I never sang the Blue-Eyed Soul stuff before. And it was interesting to me because I finally got the chance to do a gig with no rehearsals, you know, and get out there. And here's the kicker. Make a wish, baby. I can do all that. I didn't know I had that kind of soul kind of sound, you know. But when you're up there singing that, you're the biggest part, and there's 4-part vocals going on behind you, I almost stopped singing because we had no rehearsals my first gig. I had 3 days to learn the set. Sacramento, I think it was. They said, well, if you really want to be in the band, we're playing Sacramento this Friday. It was a Tuesday. You know, Joe Burley called me, actually.
Right.
I said, okay. And Joe said, well, I'll fly in the night before. We'll run through a few things. He flew into the studio right where I'm talking to you. We ran through a few songs. He goes, well, he'll be fine. You know, okay. Make a wish, baby. Make a wish. And 4-part harmony. I just about stopped. You know, it's like, wow. I'd never been involved with some of that kind of vocals in it. But I was capable. The bad thing for me and Ambrosia, and I don't, since you know the guys, they are such great guys. And
absolutely.
I could have spent my life in that band. But I started out better than 2 years later that I wound up because they weren't playing much. I couldn't get them to do a new album. And I really wanted to do that. I had some songs and Joe had songs. It would have been really a great album. And my thing is to move forward. Let's do the hits, but let's still move forward. If anybody's buying it or not, you have to stay viable. I got to keep the juices flowing. And we played every 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm singing, again, make a wish, big, way up there, you know. And I have to keep my voice in really good shape. So I'm gargling with Listerine all the time so I don't get sick. Can't afford to get a cold. It's almost like there's something called COVID-19 around, right?
Yeah. You think?
I have Purell in my pocket. I'm gargling every day, even when we're not playing. Well, alcohol, the fumes from it strip your vocal cords.
Right. Yeah.
It's almost better to drink it than it is to gargle because that's the air that's in your vocal cord, nothing else. And I was getting hoarse and I was struggling, and I think they knew it. Maybe they didn't. I always seem to be able to pull it off, but I was not doing well 2 years into it. Um, I quit. I said, guys, we're not doing a new album. This is hard playing every 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks between gigs. This is the kind of band you need to really be on all the time and singing to keep the muscle. So I quit, and I still wish that it would have worked out. Just the best bunch of guys and the most talented guys, and all the gamut from progressive rock to blue-eyed soul. It was all there, right? So this is one of those things that happens. So I moved on. Something always comes along. I'm very positive. I have lots of ideas. I don't remember what came along, but something did. There's Greg Kinn after that.
Right, but how'd you make the alliance with Boston, Sammy Hagar, and Night Ranger?
When Geffen was grooming me for this Brian Adams Sting kind of guy, John Kalodner was friends with Sammy Hagar. Sammy was on Geffen. He owed him one album when he went to Van Halen.
Right.
John Kalodner took David Lauser and Jesse Harm, Gary Peel, took them aside, who were Sammy's old band, and said, this guy, Robert Berry, would make a good replacement for Sammy. Different than the Sammy Hagar band, but you guys have this musical piece of you that isn't being used with Sam, although Sam used it in Van Halen because Eddie had it, right? But the Sammy stuff was more just straight rock. You guys should get together with Robert. So I forget, I think it was Jesse Harms that called me, could have been David Lauser, and said, man, we actually came to see you with your local band, the Robert Berry Band, and we'd like to, get together and jam a little bit and see what you think. I said, oh, man. I said, Carl Palmer, I'm moving to England. I thought, who am I with two choices like this? Sammy Hagar Band, Carl Palmer. I go, I was on cloud nine because I had done only my old band Hush, which, like I said, had a record contract and got on the charts a little bit. We opened for everybody from Triumph to Black Oak, Arkansas, to Ambrosia, Peter Gabriel. We played with it. It just wasn't going to happen. I had broken that up, started the Robert Berry Band for like 6 months, and John Kalodner is grooming me, and I'm getting calls from all these great guys. I moved to England at that point. 3 years I was there with GTR and a couple years with Keith and Carl. I came back because Keith broke up the band because he got criticized so heavy. Again, not to go around too much, but we talked about the bands of the 80s, Genesis. Yes, everybody was doing AOR in their music. Owner of a Lonely Heart, very pop. Genesis was super pop. I was doing more like AOR kind of Foreigner kind of stuff, real rock stuff. And Keith got criticized. Carl didn't because he did Asia. I didn't. All I got told was, I wish Greg Lake was still in the band. I say, I get that. I'm a huge Greg Lake fan. Hey, let's put him in this band. I'd love to be in a band with him. I was easy. But Keith was criticized. So he fell to that criticism and broke up the band, even though we had a top 10 song. So I come back home. Gary Peel calls, look, we still don't have somebody, 3 years later, not the right person. We really want to try it with you. And I said, let's do it. He goes, well, we're going to get together at Sammy's house in a couple of weeks. I'll meet you there. Okay, great. I didn't know Sammy at that point. Met him at Sammy's house. Sammy had a recording studio in his basement. Gary Peel had put it together, knew how to engineer it and all on this kind of cheap equipment, really, next to what I had in my studio.
Right,
but
right.
I didn't want to bring them all here. I wanted to get into their thing and see what was going on. So I met him there. Sam was there. Great, met him for the first time. Saw the Ferrari, all the stuff. It was very cool. We hit it right off. That it was just, as far as straight rock, that's what I liked. Gary has a Keith Richards sense of riffs and stuff. He makes up these great guitar riffs. Lauser plays, he's slamming hard, but he's got some John Bonham in him. That's my kind of drummer, right? And Jesse wasn't part of it, but Alan Fitzgerald, who had been in the Sammy Hagar Band and in Montrose as bass player before, was the keyboard player for Night Ranger and was part of this new thing. Right. So Fitz was there, and we just hit it off. Fitz knew how to stay out of the way in a rock band playing keyboards. He could fill it up and everything. but because of, Brad Gillis and the other guy, Night Ranger, Fitz knew how to do keys on a guitar band. It was just magic. And now we came here, wrote a bunch of songs, started the band. Again, I got other offers to do things like Ambrosia, but Gary was in Boston. David still played solo shows with Sam.
Right.
And Fitz was on the road as Van Halen's behind the curtain guy that had all the background vocals sampled on a keyboard. So he'd hit the background vocals when they needed some doubling. He'd start the sequencer for the keyboards. And he was on tour all the time. So every 7 or 8 years, we do an album, get it done. That's how I started doing more for Sammy. Because then when Van Halen wanted to kind of kick him out because they had some tension, they didn't want Sam using Michael Anthony as his bass player. So Sam said, hey, you want to play bass for me and Louser, and we'll do the solo shows. So I started playing bass for Sammy, which was the first time in my life that there was no heavy lifting by me. I was just his bass player. He had the songs. He had the crowd. It was like really amazing being there. I was singing background. In fact, one time it was Fall in Love Again. You know that Sammy song. And it says, hot blood run cold. And the high part is, hot blood run cold. We're way up there like an octave.
Right.
And I'm doing that and playing. And, Sam didn't want to rehearse either. I just jumped in with Louser rehearsing. And I did a show in Cabo. And he's looking at me. I'm singing that high part. And he's singing along. After a song, he goes, they come here. Was that you? I said, of course it was. He goes, don't do that again. It actually threw him off because I came through so loud at that high octave, and
so cool.
it was so much fun. I think back at that time. I got some pictures here that I haven't seen. I'm going to show you if you can see them.
Yeah, I think we can. Sure, you can bring us. Yeah, you can bring us.
It's can you see that? Okay.
Yeah, actually, you can. Yeah,
that's in Cabo, and. Sam is a great guitar player. I don't know if anybody knows. I mean, they know he plays, but he always wanted to be a famous blues guitar player. He can really play. And of course, he writes on it. I mean, this is all hidden behind the stuff, but there's Lars from Metallica, Steven Stills, myself, Sammy. There's a guy from not Guns N' Roses, from Alice in Chains there. Sam has everybody come to Cabo. And I got to play with everybody. Steven Stills, I mean, that was kind of a thrill for me because I really liked his music. I said, Steven, whatever you want to do, that's fine with me. But could we play for what it's worth? I mean, I go to Buffalo Springfield. He goes, you don't know how I do that song. I said, well, teach me then. So he shows me, and David Louser playing drums for him. But he turns the amp up pretty kind of distorted. Okay, a heavy version. Okay, so we rehearse it. That night, he comes in, Sam says, Steven Stills, everybody's going crazy. We get up there. He takes the amp and he turns it up all the way, every knob there is. So when he starts, it just, all you hear is distortion. Louser goes, where's one? Because he wants to know where the beat is. I said, I don't know. So he goes, 3, 4, and he just hits the drums and he starts playing the beat, and him and I are right in sync. And evidently, we're like way off from what Steven Stills wants to hear. He looks around like, what the hell? He goes, you guys. And he adjusts because he's a great musician and we do the song. But afterwards, he read me the riot act. I said, man, your amp is so distorted. Sammy said, he's so deaf, he can't hear anything. So,
you didn't know, right?
I had no idea. I guess he had hearing aids on during the day, but at night he took them out, So since we're doing things, I'll show you. There's Ambrosia.
Interesting story. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. Here's the very first Alliance picture with Fitz in there, if that's coming through or not.
Yes, it is.
Trying to think anything else of interest. Well, Greg Kinn, who Greg.
Greg is awesome.
And something at the Bammies, before I really knew Sam, I did meet him that night, but I didn't know him. That's John Fogerty and Keith Carl and I and Neil Schon. Look at this guy down here, Michael Bolton, when he still had all the long hair.
Michael Bolton.
Jonathan Kane, Eddie Money, looking like a bartender.
Yeah.
I was injected into just oh my God, what a time in life. I'm sorry, my phone's going off here. I'm going to see if I can
You're fine, Robert. You're fine.
check that. You know, you're in my studio. I wanted to talk to you in the studio so we can show you a few things here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
This is your time, so do as you
Well,
want, my friend. And I have more questions for you. So
oh, I'm just happy to be talking to you. Now here's the tools of the trade. As far as my guitars that I use every day,
wow.
you know, acoustics, Paul Reed Smith, Fenders, all here. The Gretsch, Rickenbacker 12 string, 335. There's a bass back here, Rickenbacker, signed by Chris Squire. If you can see that signature there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see it.
That's the only. I've never seen one just like mine. He told me we had the same manager in England. You know, some of the acoustics, L5 jazz guitar, double neck, like Jimmy Page's 12 string
Yeah.
six.
Yep.
I just that because I dig it. Martin acoustics, Hofner bass because they sound so much different than the regular bass. You know, so the 5 string basses back here, old Vox. Uh, these are the ones that I use. I mean, I don't use all of them every day, but when people need guitar work on their sessions, I use these. You know, this has every sound you can imagine. You know, that phone's going to drive me nuts. I have a busy studio. This is the drum set I use for sessions and that I used on the album, the DW.
Cool. Okay.
David Lauser's a DW endorser, so I got it really cheap, let me tell you. but this is the top of the line DW kit, and it sounds like $1 million. The Hammond B3, which of course Keith used when he was down here, and you know, a Yamaha C7 concert grand piano. This is a state-of-the-art place, and I get the best of everything to use for myself and the bands I'm in, whatever, and also my clients get to benefit from that, you know, because it has to be the best, like this Neve console, you know.
Beautiful, man. I love that. Oh my God.
You've seen Dave Grohl's Sound City documentary where he goes into Sound City to get the old console.
I have not.
It's really great if you're a musician because it's all about that Neve console. He wants that where Fleetwood Mac and everybody, when they started, Tom Petty, you know, that's where everybody wanted to go. This dirty old place, Sound City, and he got the console. And it's this kind of Neve console. It has a little bit different EQ, but it's an old, and it's got the sound. You know, it's just. Anyway, now we're back, and I hope you're not going to throw up now from being bounced around.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I'm really enjoying the tour that you gave us, but that was unprecedented and also not planned. So that was welcomed.
You know, I'm here and I've been working all day on a session, a mix, and with a guy in San Francisco. And today he couldn't come down, so we just Zoomed the mix and the updates. And that's not the greatest way because it doesn't sound that good on Zoom, but you know, we made it work. And I told him, I said, look, I got an interview to do. Yeah, I'm done with you.
Oh, that's all right. Well, you could. I mean, whatever. I mean,
no. I look forward to this. I was looking forward to talking to you. This is good.
Well, you don't really know me, so that's the thing. To introduce myself, I'm Docg. I run Hamilton Radio. I've been running it for 25 years. I'm a former musician.
Yep.
I'm also a former New Jersey State Police.
John Lappin's a big fan of yours, so
John's a fan of mine.
Yeah, he said that this guy's good. You know, some of them he says.
I appreciate that.
Could be a little more amateur. You know, this guy doesn't seem to be really as on it. You might have to lead the conversation, which I never do. I just want to talk to you. But
just average talk, right? Absolutely.
He said, this guy's happening and you're going to enjoy this. So when he says that, you know, 10% of the time he'll say that. John's not that happy of a guy.
Wow. Oh, we'll let John know about that. But anyway, let's get back to some of the bands now. Yeah. I mean, you've been with major bands. It's just amazing. But is there any bands that you would have wanted to be with that broke up and you can't be with?
I've been so lucky past my wildest dreams to work with guys that were the heroes of mine when I was in high school. You know, it's like I always wanted to play with Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck just blows me away. I don't think Jeff Beck knows how to play guitar. He just is part of the guitar.
Right. Yeah.
I see him and I go, how the hell? Where's the connection? Where's the wire from his brain to the strings? It's just amazing to me. I wouldn't have minded being the keyboard player for Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen is really a thrill. I say that because, when Sam goes out with the Circle now, he has Jason Bonham on drums, Michael Anthony on bass, and
Right.
Dick is still a guitar player. It's me playing keyboards. When they do the Van Halen songs, it's pre-recorded, but I recorded them for Sam.
Okay.
So Jason puts the headphones on, because they don't have a keyboard player with them. So I did get to be in Van Halen, I guess, a little bit.
That's
But
good.
there was something about Eddie Van Halen, the way he wrote, and he actually could get away with really great songs and still ripping guitar, and then sometimes just great guitar tone, which a lot of the metal bands, even like Dream Theater, which is so busy and so over the top, I don't particularly like the sound of Dream Theater. And Van Halen, I really like the sound of it with the tone quality. As you can see, I'm into tone quality and stuff too, just because of the kind of equipment I have. So
Right.
different music means different things to me, kind of.
No, again, it's amazing. So, is there anything? Did you ever want to write a book? I mean, because look at all the lives you've touched and people you've recorded for and with. I mean, did you ever think of maybe writing a book or something like that in the future?
I've written about a 400-page book for my kids. I think what's important to me is that I'm a very positive guy. I got both my parents very positive. They're very generous, helping people, and that's sort of who I am. And I wanted my kids to know that it was being good to people. I do things, I don't expect anything back. I just do them because I want to move forward. I want to be positive. And a John Collard Geffen responded to that, basically got me connected. Herbie Herbert, Journey's manager, responded to that. I want them to know that I've been very lucky because of the kind of person I am. I treated people right, and they need to treat people right in their life and expect nothing in return. And something's going to come along. You just have to recognize it and go for it. So I've written all these things, how lucky I am. I mean, just way back, I was 12 years old. At that point, I had 8 years of classical piano. I played and I hated it. For Christmas, every year in elementary school, teacher, Mr. Barry's going to play Jingle Bells for us now. My piano teacher would taught me. So I'd get in front of the class and ding, 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 ding. Oh, wasn't that wonderful? And the kids could care less, right? I hated that every year. Yeah. But a guy in my class told his 4-year older brother, when I was 12, this guy's 18, you wanted a keyboard player in your band. This guy plays piano. It's in my class, and his dad owns a music store. And the 18-year-old said, we'll get free equipment. So they came to my dad's store and said, hey, does little Bobby Barry want to be in our band, And my dad looked at me, you want to be in a band? So I was really shy. I don't know. He goes, when do you guys practice? The guy said, Wednesdays. I'll have them there, right? I'm 12 years old playing with 18-year-olds. A month later, I'm playing at San Jose State University sorority and fraternity parties where everybody's all drunk and everything else. And these guys are protecting me. And I got my little Vox organ there and I'm playing. I never had to learn how to start a band because these guys had been through that. They knew what kind of music they wanted to play. They could sing, they could play, they had a PA, and they drove, right? I was 12, I didn't drive. Everybody in my class who wanted to start a band, they're still trying to figure out how to play a song together, maybe. I just was so lucky. So even at that point, that the reason they wanted me in their band might have been not such a nice reason, right. But I still learned and held up my end of the bargain to be the best keyboard player I could be. I got something over here just to show you my theory. That picture that's under Ambrosia, I don't know if you can see it. Ambrosia's up there.
Yeah.
Far corner. That's from Aaron Emerson. when he was 14, Keith and I were driving him to his job. He's a dishwasher at some restaurant, and he was not happy. He's in the back seat. And Keith says, "Come on, Aaron, suck it up. It's your job. You can make some money." He goes, "I don't want to do this job." And I looked around and said, "Aaron, whatever you do in life, do it as to the best of your capability." I said, "Do it well. That will serve you your whole life." And after Keith died, Aaron sent me a picture with him and his son, and it says, "Whatever you do in life, do it well." Aaron Emmer.
Copied your quote.
Oh my God, I still tear up from that. That he sent that. I remembered, 20 years later, whatever it was. That's sort of my theory. I only kind of do music and I can mow lawns, but other than that, that's all I do.
Yeah, but you do it so well. Let's talk
try
about
to.
some of your.
Yeah.
Get finish what you're saying. No, let's
I have
talk about
people
some
come
of your.
in that they don't deserve to be recording in a studio with all this great equipment. They're so lousy. I still do my best for them because someone else is going to rip them off. It's just
Right.
my policy,
Oh,
And
and you're 100% right.
yeah, it affects your life. And I want my kid. That's talking about the book. That's what I want my kids to see. My son he has a little recording studio doing hip hop stuff. I don't want to do what you do. People come in and try to make their songs sound good. I want to do my own music. That sounded like me at 25 years old too. And now I love doing my own music, but because I do everybody else's music 5 days a week, my creative, it's just always on. It's always going. It has to be. It's like exercising. If your heart's in good shape, it should last a long time.
Right. That's awesome. So let's talk about some of your tracks on your new album. They're they're definitely classical rock, progressive rock, I hear,
Yeah.
but they're amazing tracks. And let's talk about some of them tracks. Were they influenced by some things that happened in life? Usually, that's how we write songs, right?
Definitely. And I did find. I don't know if in the last album, which was called "The Rules Have Changed," that Keith and
I don't know much about it, but I heard of it. Yeah.
Keith and I had revitalized the Three band we had in 1988. He broke it up because of criticism, but then he heard a live recording a record company put out in 2015 or so, and he called me and said, "Oh my God, we were such a good band. I just didn't realize." I said, "Well, I always thought we were." He goes, "No, I mean we were on fire." He was so excited because they had soured just 2 letters. In 1988, there was no internet. There was barely cell phones, right? And no one would have Keith's
Right.
number. He did have one of those big shoebox-sized cell phones. And he broke up the band because of those 2 letters where they said, "You're ruining your name. You should be back at the Greg Lake," and blah, blah, blah. And it really bothered him. So go forward 27 years. He hears how good we were. He goes, "Wow," calls me. I said, "How about we do another one?" He goes, "Okay, I get us the record contract because they've been bugging me for 10 years at Frontiers. We want another 3 album. If Keith won't do it, I won't ask him. We do other things. I know he doesn't want to revisit that. All of a sudden, he does want to revisit it. We do it in the middle. He commits suicide. Which if you know about suicide, it's a black hole that we can't see in and a black hole that they can't see out of. It's hard to understand how you get there. I had no idea because, like with you, this was Keith's happy place. We do things on the phone, FaceTime. We'd talk and, I have a piano here. He has a piano. We go back and forth a lot of it. It was his happy place. I had no idea other things were bugging him so much. And it wasn't just that his arm was sore and couldn't play because he could still play just fine, So that album did really well because of that. I was worried that I didn't want to finish it. I was very despondent, didn't want to finish it because, I lost Keith. I hadn't finished all the lyrics. We had a lot of his keyboard parts. I found that a year after that album was out, looking at those lyrics and reading them, that, boy, I was in a deep place lyrically that I'd never reached before. And that's why that album did so well, I think. People really resonated with what it was about, how I was feeling. Now I get it. These songs now reflect some of, the timestamp of where I was last year when I finished the lyrics, what I wanted the last 3 album to be, because I had one song left that Keith and I had written, the last one he ever worked on. Um, and then other things that were going on, and not coronavirus by any means. I think I didn't worry about that. You know, I've lived like a singer my whole life. I have Purell in my pocket all the time. It just doesn't matter. I'm good. I'm not going to get sick, right? I can't afford to. Look at Ambrosia. I was gargling a Listerine every day for 3 weeks when I wasn't singing. You know, I mean, that's the way you get past being sick. But there was other things like a song called "The Devil of Liverpool" on that album, where I was doing a press tour in Europe for "The Rules Have Changed," the previous album,
Right.
and it was so heavy in 2 days. Everybody's coming to this hotel meeting room, and one after another, an hour here, hour there. They kept going like 6, 8 a day for 2 days. I just wanted to do something mindless. So my wife and I, Rebecca, we went on a Beatles taxi cab tour. Went to Liverpool, and the guy drove us around and showed us all the things. And McCartney was there the day before doing taxi cab karaoke with the comedian. And he said, "Hey, there's a signature. It's still wet." I go, "Oh, how cool is that?" And he told us about the Devil of Liverpool in the old days, who was a loan shark. I went, "I love that name." I wrote it down. So things were inspired within the last couple of years by just the timestamp of life during that time.
I mean, that's an incredible story too with the Paul McCartney, because um, I want to talk about Paul as an influence, the Beatles' influence, of course, in every classic rock person I know. It's been around for a long time. The Beatles influenced everything they did. Do you think it influenced everything you did, or was it a mixture of a lot of different things? It sounds like it's a mixture to me.
But
different time frames, different years, different eras, different bands.
Yeah, definitely. For me, the Beatles were the first progressive band because they had all that musicality to it. They also were the first heavy metal band. I mean, Helter Skelter. Do you get
Skelter? Yep.
I mean,
no kicks butt today.
And then they did the silliest pop, soft shoe kind of stuff. Like clarinets and stuff. I mean, they kind of did it all, and it was always the Beatles that did influence me because, like on this album, there's a lot of different styles, but they are held together by the vocal and a certain thing that I do, whatever that is. I can't put my finger on it, but there's a sound quality and a writing style that kind of holds it together. And again, two things. I get the license to do that because the Beatles got away with it. And Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger are 78. So I know I have quite a few years to go. They're proving to me how long I can keep going.
Yeah, very true, very true. I mean, but the road is a killer. I mean, I've talked to several people about that, of course, but with COVID, it kind of stopped. But one of my good friends, Phil Hatton, David Payton from Pilot, and also Alan Parsons Project, and he also toured with Elton John. They're on tour. They beat them up. It really beat them up because that tour is so agonizing to be in the next city. I mean, yourself, Robert, that taking time away from your family, taking time to go play for people is a great thing, but you miss your family, you miss your babies, you miss your dogs or cats, whatever it is. And, and coming back to them, it's just like, oh my God, I couldn't wait to get back. And then you don't really know if you want to go back again. It's such a hard thing to do. It's not like taking a vacation for 2 weeks and coming back.
Yeah.
This is like a 6-month, 8-month tour that you got to put your family like on hold. How do you do that?
It's not just that though. There's also what really kills you is sometimes you have to travel by bus all night and sleep in the bus. That's tough.
Right.
Sometimes you fly, when you fly for an hour, you lose 2.5 other hours waiting and luggage and everything else.
Right.
Getting exposed to the elements for a singer, that's really hard. But you also have that 6 to 10 hours every day of downtime with nothing to do. You can sound check, and then you got to be on 110% at night. And in between there, you just can't keep eating, So, and watching TV, it's the metabolism. It gets way down, then it's jacked way up at night. That's really hard on a person, and that's why a lot of people turn to drugs and drinking and stuff because they're bored.
Right. Yep, that's what I said. Bored. Yeah.
Downtime's terrible. I have a song on the previous album called "Powerful Man" that is influenced by Aaron Hagar, who is a great singer, sounds just like his dad. really worships his dad. Dylan Howe, great musician, worships his dad. Aaron Emerson and his grandson now love their dad. Good musicians in their own right. Ry Kin, Greg Kin's son, he took lessons from Joe Satriani. He's a fantastic guitar player.
Oh,
I can
wow.
go down the list of all these sons that are musicians that worship their dad, and their dad was never home. When he was home, though, he was a good dad, and they still aspire to be like their dad. That was amazing. It's called Powerful Man, right? There's this powerful man. Imagine being Sammy's kid under the stage while he's doing Van Halen to 20,000 people or whatever, you know. Man, that's
Absolutely.
be really, that's got to be crazy stuff.
Yeah, unbelievable. Again, we can talk to you for hours and hours, but if anybody wants to get your music, where can they get your music? I'm not done yet, but where can they get your music at? And how do they get it?
Check on the website. You know, I'm not much of a salesman because I love what I do. It's all I get. My day job's a studio, my night job's touring, playing it. You know, but everything is, I have a great friend that does my website at robertberry.com, of course. You know, the t-shirts for the albums, there's vinyl. I'll show you this. The record company wasn't going to do vinyl. So there was a vinyl on the first album in 88 because they were still doing vinyls, right?
Right.
That's the first album.
3, yeah.
I got the rights back to do the second album when the rules had changed, vinyl. Now, I can't see having just those two and then just the CD. You know, I got to have a vinyl. So I've done vinyl on the new one that's getting here soon. I got the rights back from the company to do it because they weren't going to do it. And there's 300 of the rules that changed, but on the new one, there's only be 200 because it's the last in the 3 series. There'll never be another one. Keith's gone. And I want it to be kind of scarce. I want it to be special. So that's on the website. Everything's on there. Where to get it on Amazon and Spotify and all that. I can't tell you, but it's on the website. I can see it.
That's good. And you got more projects coming up, right? You got a lot of stuff. You're not going to give up yet. There's no reason to.
No, I already.
You're a musician. You got to keep.
Well, you know, I'm still.
You look great, by the way. How old are you?
Oh, I never say how old I am because then I feel that age.
So, okay. Well, you look good for your age.
My Wikipedia says I'm 70 and I'm not. That pisses me off. And I take it off and someone puts it back on. They're out to get me.
So, wow. How about that?
I was the new guy, you know. Again, Keith would have been, 74? Carl, 72. You know, I mean, a lot of guys get in their 70s now, and a lot of them are healthy enough to keep going. I aspire to that. But my mom was the same way. Never wanted to know. Let's not talk about age, birthday. I didn't want to have a birthday. Let's just live strong mentally. I'm 30 years old, right? 32, 35 maybe. And it keeps me fresh. I work with a lot of young people at the studio. I do hip hop tracks. I do all kinds of country stuff. I just can't help myself. But no, I'm not going to give up. That's why I look at McCartney and Jagger. I say, well, they're 78. I got a long stretch to get there. And I bet they go till, at least Jagger's going to go to 80. McCartney's voice is starting to flutter a little bit, but he's writing great music, doing great stuff.
And of course, Keith Richards is another whole story. I mean, I don't even know where everybody that I thought he would die before them. Not saying I want him to. They're dead, and he's still alive.
They had a song about 4 years ago called Doom and Gloom, which I keep on my computer.
It's a good song.
It was such a great song, and the Richards riff is as good as Brown Sugar, right? And it blows me away that they're still doing it, and they've stayed true to themselves even during the disco thing. They did disco, but it was still true to the Stones. How'd they do that? You know, amazing.
A lot of bands can't do that.
No,
we can talk about several bands. Another band that had great harmonies. You probably know is 10cc.
I don't know those guys, but yeah.
But the harmonies, the layered harmonies that they did, kind of was like, you know, almost like Queen-like, but they're in their own category.
That's right.
Because they layered and layered and layered and layered and layered and go, you know, let's see if this works. When I'm Not in Love, that's one song that always it gets you no matter what, whether you're soft rock, or even progressive rock. It's a great, great song. And a lot of their stuff is like that. But a lot of bands have that certain technique that people know and they can tell who they are. It's that unique signature.
Yeah.
What is the unique signature for Three?
Well, it doesn't have to be anything special. It could be as simple as Creedence Clearwater, right? They wrote the guy from Marin, California here. He's writing about the bayou, and well, he didn't live in the bayou, right? And he's got these simple rhythms, and it's magic, right? Just simple as can be. The Three thing is really back in 1987 when I got together with Keith and Carl. There is Keith, half the songwriter and the sound of Three. I was half the songwriter and the voice of Three. Those are the main things that come across the speakers. They say, Carl, great drummer, but there's a lot of great drummers and you pound on them, you beat on them, right? So that it's an important part of Three to start with, but it didn't turn out to be that as important because Keith and I wanted a solider rhythm, kind of like the newer stuff is. So we had all the ingredients for that. Because I played keyboards and every day, every minute spent with Keith was like a piano lesson to me, I'd watch, go, oh my God, we're back in 88. I'm looking over his shoulder on tour. Oh, every night I'm going, oh, that's how he does that. Not that I could do it, but I knew what he was doing. It became part of my DNA and part of who I am. I'm actually hoping that I can get rid of a little bit of it for next year's, the thing I'm working on, because it needs to be, Three is done. I want that to stay what it is and with that sound, but it's so much a part of the way I play keyboards that it might creep into it. But I think the big keyboard sound, again, there's only a couple guys that can do a keyboard album and the sound can keep up with a White Snake and heavy bands. Eddie Van Halen did it. Jump could go on rock radio next to a guitar song, and Jump still had that thing. He knew how to make it compete, and that's not by playing a whole bunch of notes either. It's by playing like 3 notes, like a guitar.
No.
And Emerson had that big sound, so that's what really makes Three. The ELP didn't have that big sound, except for after Three with Black Moon and stuff. They got the bigger sound,
Right.
Because that's where things headed. But yeah, I think that's the ingredients. It's the song and the sound of the keyboards. It's mainly keyboard stuff. Although on the Rules Have Changed, it was a real Three album. On the new one, Third Impression, I felt I had to take these fans of the music and the style and move them more to what I'll do next, which I like the perfect blend of guitar and keyboards. Half and half, like Yes is, like Asia is. I mean, so many bands are like that, right? Kansas. Journey was like that. So this album is more of a blend. Some of it's heavy on the keyboards. Half the album is like Three. The other half is more like Where I'll Go Next, like the very first song, Top of the World. It starts with a minute and a half of Celtic acoustic guitar stuff. I did that on purpose. I thought either I'll scare them away or they're going to wait for the keyboards, right? Hey, this should be a keyboard album. Where's the keyboards? But it'll get people into where I'm heading. And so far, it's worked out really well.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. That's why I said this album is, when I listen to it and I play it, I play for my listeners too, that the response has been really, really incredible for it. So I'm going to be playing more, and I want to play more Three. So I want to get some more of them CDs, and I want to get some more of the other CDs for the other stuff that you have on your website. I just want to make sure that I get them autographed by you.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Well, where are you at? I forget where you're at.
I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, I'll just drive over. I'm only in California.
No, but we do have. I actually have a radio studio here that we started about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. We just built a new one before COVID, and now it's become a recording studio because of COVID. In your area, like you're in area in California, New Jersey is, we can't really do anything. Now it's just starting to open up now. But for the last couple months, we've been sedentary. We really couldn't do anything. Our studio's still been open. We've still been doing shows. I've been doing shows live on, Zoom and StreamYard and all that other things. But the recording part has always been there. We're just got to sign a recording company to come in and do stuff now. So they have their own show, and that's hip hop, by the way.
Cool.
That's hip hop. So and they're always looking for new people and stuff like that. And we're working with a couple talent contest couple shows for that. And we're also going to a Roku channel very soon. We had one before, but we had to kind of drop it. And because we sent too many people to the channel, and it literally cost me thousands and thousands of dollars. And I said, well, this isn't going to work. So let's retool it. Let's look at it and go back to it later. A couple months later, we're getting ready to do another Roku channel, but they don't charge you for bandwidth. They only charge you for server space. And oh, there you go.
Okay.
So if Robert Barry wanted to play live somewhere, I say, Robert, here you go. Here's a link. You click live. You're live on the Roku, Amazon Fire, and all these other places, and it's done.
Nice.
And what are people going to say? No.
You're right. You're right. Yeah.
So it's a perfect tool for people that want to play outside or play in venues or play in concerts, because some people are using the drones. When we went to see Eddie Money a couple of years ago, before he passed away, of course, in Atlantic City, he actually had drones on the stage, and a lot of the drones were, what you see behind the performer.
Yeah.
So we can actually tune right into that IP address and put that on there too. So there's a lot of options that we can do as, producers in technology. I'm using the technology to my advantage and helping other people. And of course, bringing performers out like you guys, you and whoever's out there, to the masses all over the world.
Yeah.
Because other than that, how else are you going to get there? How?
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have a big enough facility there to do this stuff, and you have the love to do it. And that's the key, it's tough with streaming and everything to make any money these days in radio, in a band, selling albums. You have to play the game the right way, and there's only a couple of things that are actually facilitate paying for it. I mean, we got to make something to pay for this life, right? So
absolutely, and it does, and everything does cost. But I see a big advantage that I'm going to have over a lot of bigger companies, which is because I'm getting it now, and a lot of my friends are, with the Shark Tank and Anthony Robbins and tons and tons of people, motivational speakers, and just a lot of different diversified people that do diversified things. And if you put them all together, you have a huge amount of people that can do a lot of things for humanity, including musicians. Musicians offer so much because they all your time. And we were talking about that, how many times you do sit there and wait and you're bored. You can't do anything. You can't go home.
Right.
You can maybe, call home and talk to them and get more sad, or you can watch TV, or, what do you really do? Where do you go?
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that? And like you said, you write songs. That's all you can do. Write songs and let that be your voice when you sing your songs.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish you luck with all that, because it sounds like you've got quite a few bases covered there. And
we'll see. Everything's about to change anyway, one way or another.
We've locked down here pretty well. California has been kind of ridiculous. I am a non-masker outside. I've always been. Inside, I wear a mask, but I believe that since we're born, we're exposed to little particles of stuff all the time. Human beings are made to fight that off, and our immune system grows because of that. And when we're older, if we're healthy all the time, it's because we got exposed to a lot of things.
There you go.
Because we didn't.
There
right?
you go. There
If
you
we
go.
didn't, we're in trouble. We're going to be sick old men, right?
You were the kid that played out in the dirt, right? You were the kid that ate the dirt. You were the kid that, ran into puddles and did the other things. My mother always used to yell at me for, but I was a Boy Scout, and I said, wait a minute, you got to have bacteria so your body can fight the bacteria that you might get.
Exactly. So
I didn't know, but
Florida did that. They closed down for 3 months. They've been open ever since. I've done quite a few interviews down there. This is what they tell me anyway. I haven't been down there.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Mm-hmm.
California was closed down June 15th. They're taking away all regulations. It's going to be completely open. Now, I don't know why our governor thinks that he could, I'll pick June 15th, but he has, so we're glad about that. But our numbers are almost exactly the same as Florida. And they didn't shut down more than 3 months when everybody was really confused, didn't know what to do. I'm not sure why I got on this kick because I don't want to talk about it too much because it makes me a little angry.
Yeah, it does.
I was normal. Because it's a one-on-one kind of thing here, I do a lot of music for single artists. If they sing and play guitar, I do everything else. They play keyboards, I do everything else. They come here to work with me because of that. So I was 75% of normal last year in the studio without changing anything. And of course, the other 25% was getting third impression ready. And people walk in with a mask and, and in a paper bag, basically a plastic bag. I go, you don't have to worry about it. I am the king of Purell. Every doorknob, the couch, everything you touch, look at, every air particle you breathe has been sprayed with alcohol. Trust me. I said, not for me, but for you, because I'm good. Don't worry about it. And they take their mask off and we do the session. They'd be fine, But coming up now, regulations are coming off. They're already booking concerts. I think you'll find people wanting to use the facility for these things, even though they can play a show. I'm not sure the audience, 3,000 people aren't going to pack into a place. Maybe 250 will go into a smaller club because it seems a little safer. But 3,000 a big place, I just think people are going to be uncomfortable.
And I feel the same way. I agree with you. Everybody's going to come back slowly. And I already said, if I have to wear a mask, I can't go. I have anxiety. I don't have asthma, but I have friends that have asthma. And if I go with the friends, I'm going to be just like them. I'm not going to be able to breathe. So I can't wear a mask. I've never had COVID, don't have COVID, and I'm fine. My family's fine. My kids are fine. My wife's fine. And I just see that the world has changed so much since this. And I just want to do my contribution, just like you, with music.
Yeah.
Any way I can. And I just want to let you know, I did write a song. It was Grammy nominated about 2 years ago. It's called Bonfire. And it's with my country artist, Nashville friend, Anne-Marie Pacerno. That song is about the burning desire of every person, not just musician, but every person, to create more of the same from more of the same. Just creating a bonfire and letting that bonfire create more bonfires.
Yeah.
And just let it do what it's going to do. And that song talks about all that. Humanity's spirit, the light of the bonfire, the heat of the bonfire, the warmth that you get when you're around a bonfire, even if it's 80 degrees at night, people gather around the fire.
Right.
Even if it isn't a bonfire, it's still a fire pit. And people gather around it and they talk and they relax. It relaxes your muscles. It relaxes you. It makes you feel good. Yeah. There's a lot of benefits, like my friend Diamond Dallas Page from wrestling says yoga. Yoga is a beneficial meditating thing, but he never thought he would do it. And now he's doing it for everybody and himself. Mm-hmm. Yoga is very, very good medicinal for us as people. So before you go, Robert, go ahead.
I wish I could do it. I can't slow down. I barely sleep at night. I've got ideas, all this stuff's going through my head. I know. I'll say, okay, I'm going to do the breathing thing. And I got to count it. And I get to 7. And then all of a sudden I realize, 2 minutes, 3 minutes later, I go, I'm supposed to be breathing because I'm thinking about something. It drives me nuts.
I don't want to hold you up anymore, but I do want to ask you a question. If you could do a sweeper for the station, and we could definitely play your music around it. Just all you have to say is who you are and what band you were in, and say you're listening to Hamilton Radio. And it's my 25th. What's that?
Hamilton Radio, right?
Hamilton Radio. Its 25th year is coming up. In June. That's my birthday and the station's birthday. And my anniversary too.
We don't. 3.2 isn't a name people are going to know, but I'll do one for that. This is Robert Berry. You're listening to Hamilton Radio. Check out 3.2. Now, Greg Kinn, they're going to know. And if I say, this is Robert Berry, I'm the bass player for the Greg Kinn Band. Check it out on Hamilton Radio. check out. Let me do it again. This is Robert Berry. I played bass for Greg Kinn and the band. We're on tour soon. I think we'll be in New Jersey. You never know. Listen to us on Hamilton Radio.
Perfect. That's awesome. And if when you come, if John would reach out to me, I would love to come see you. If everything's open and ready to go.
Yeah. We were in New Jersey 2019, maybe early on, for something that Bruce Springsteen puts on down there by
Light of Day. The Light of Day.
Yeah, we were there to do something, and it was really cool. It was a lot of fun.
I've met a lot of cool musicians too there.
Yeah. Yep. All good, man.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for the interview. Thanks everybody for watching and enjoying. And Robert Berry, you're an amazing guy, and I wish you luck in the future. And if you need anything, just reach out to me anytime through John. And I'm admin at HamiltonRadio.net, and I'm here.
I appreciate your kind words. I'm glad you liked the album, and we got a bunch of things coming up, so I'll be talking to you soon.
Okay, thank you, man. Bye-bye.
See you later.